Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 8th day of the month of August, 2025, Friday of the 18th week of the year, the 18th week in Ordinary Time. It is also the day in which we honor the memory of Saint Dominic, the founder of the Order of Preachers, the Dominicans, contemporary of St. Francis. They seem to have met each other at one point. What was conversed, what they said, is not really clear, but Dominicans and Franciscans studied together, were great doctors of theology at the University of Bologna, University of Paris, in some other at Oxford, at Cambridge, all these other kinds of places. So again, we celebrate our Dominican brothers and sisters on this day. He is a feast in the Franciscan calendar, a memorial in the regular calendar, and there are special readings for him in the Franciscan lectionary. But since we have the lectionary that we have, we will use it. We'll use it for today. But praying again for all Dominican men and women on this day of the feast of their founder. The readings in the lectionary today, we have moved from Numbers now into Deuteronomy. And it's an interesting kind of conclusion to this whole movement of the claiming of Israel as God's very own. And Moses speaks to the people in this sense of encouragement and remembrance that you had a God who led you, through ups and downs, a God who rescued you from the hands of another nation and claimed you as his own, who spoke to you from fire and you were able to live, after hearing this God speak to you. This God has given you this land. Again, as the Israelites move into the promised land, this preparatory, kind of caution and admonition is given to them. Live in this land, remembering all this God did for you. Live in this land, trying to honor and live by the commandments and the statutes that God has given you. Know that no other nation has experienced such wonder and such acclaim, such beauty, such possessiveness as God has done with you. And you now must live as God has asked you to live, to continue to enjoy all that God is now going to offer you and on this future that God has created for you. Important always, I think, for us to remember, especially in the most difficult of times, what is it that God has given to us that we need to remember to move forward into the future. We become so forgetful at times when we meet, either distress or we meet other kinds of avenues or opportunities that look inviting and that look like something we should follow down. Remembering where it is that we've come from and remembering how it is that God has accompanied us in this journey is what matters, and what is, what consciously needs to be a part of our lives as believers. Because if we don't, do that, if we are not conscious of what it is that God has done for us and of who and what we are, then we lose the sense of who and what we are. We lose our anchor and our foundation, and we are set adrift again by folly, by nuance, by the most jangly, bright dangling thing in front of us, and what have you. And that will not give us the peace and the hope that we desire. That will not give us the future that we deserve as human beings. This reading is connected then, or paired, not connected, but it's paired with, again, Matthew's gospel, which, again, Matthew was so much on judgment. Matthew wanted a God who would come, a Christ who would return and judge everybody, because, again, the Christians and the Jews, again, were fighting against each other, and the Jewish authorities were sometimes oppressing the Christians, and so the Matthean Christians, were trying to say, our way is right and your way is wrong, and all these other kinds of things like this, which really wasn't very helpful in the end. But here we have kind of another, premonition of judgment. The first part of it is important. To follow Jesus is not easy. It is a dare. It is a risk. Again, the taking up of a cross. Not that it's supposed to be painful and suffering, because that's not good for anybody, but that there is something that's going to set you apart and be different from the way that the world acts, from the way that the world thinks is of value, and what dignity the world thinks it can offer people. To live in that kind of opposition to what the world values is placing you now at a point of antagonism maybe, or stress. But remember that, again, the way that God points out is the way that leads to life. But again, those who don't follow it, what will be their consequences, what will be their end. Again, this is where this idea of judgment comes in, to judge each other according to their deeds. Okay, fine. But again, those who don't follow this, the question is always why? What frightens them? What are they afraid of that God will ask them to do? What are they afraid of the life that God offers to them? That's up to us, as always, to give people what it is that they need so they can understand, again, how wonderful it is to be a part of the life of God, to recognize that we have been claimed by God, claimed by Christ. And because of that, again, our life can never be the same, but it can only be open to more beauty and wonder than we can imagine possible. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.